Welcome back, Lelanders, to a new episode of Not Clone Evolution this time, another episode of The Magi Show. And today we have a guest who's going to be coming on to talk about ley lines. I know all the viewers have probably seen my other shows about ley lines. I'm kind of getting down the dumps because I couldn't get anyone to come on the show to talk about them that knows a lot. And lo and behold, when I was checking out some videos about September 11th, I happened to find someone who did an entire video about a September 11th ley line. And I was kind of floored because when I turned on the ley line maps that I've been researching, it happened to fall right on one of them. So I was pretty mind blown about it. And I know he does other videos about ley lines as well. So we'll bring him on Skype, and we'll let him introduce himself so we can find out not only how he found out about this September 11th ley line, but a little background about himself as well. All right, so let's bring on the Skype caller. All right, so his name is Art Olivier, and he should be able to speak soon.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are, Art. Great.
All right.
So we actually have your image, I forgot, of Google Earth on
Oh.
right now. Did you want to put your face back on for while you introduce yourself? That'd be great.
All right. Let's see.
I'll see if I can close the chat here. There we go. No, what Art did is he also has his Google Earth all set up with files ready to go for tonight, and I got mine set up for that as well. So we'll be doing quite a bit of different views on Google Earth tonight.
Yeah. Let's see what I'm in the. Oh, I know. I'm in the chat. That's what's wrong here.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, like I started researching ley lines about 4 years ago. Oh, there. I'll let Art take it from here.
Yeah. Yeah. So the last name is actually Olivier.
Olivier, that's it. Sorry, I didn't
Olivier,
see the extra
yeah.
I in there.
Yeah. And yeah. Being a Canadian, you
Yeah.
know some French words.
Bonjour. I took like 5 years of French class, and I didn't come out with much, but I wish I would have taken a trip to Montreal sooner, because as soon as I realized that I could meet a whole bunch of hot French babes, I was like, oh, why didn't I pay attention in French class?
Yeah. So I used to be the mayor of Bellflower. I own a real estate business here in Bellflower.
No kidding.
And I was the 2000 vice presidential candidate for vice president in the Libertarian Party, and then also ran for governor against Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, no kidding.
I'm the writer and producer of Operation Terror. It's the 9/11 film that you are not supposed to know about.
Yeah.
We won lots of awards. But wasn't really allowed to be distributed in the United States because it is the story you're not supposed to know. So
Yeah.
I mean, I had about 25 distributors that were hot to trot, and somebody got a hold of them, and they all said, "No, I can't touch it."
Wow, that's brutal. Yeah, that must have been a major investment then too, right? Jeez.
Yeah, hell yeah, money, time, everything. I kept the I didn't do any pre-publicity promotions on it at all, just because I figured somebody would try to stop it.
Yeah.
So we and then I wasn't even allowed to advertise.
Wow.
I tried to advertise on on the Alex Jones websites and stuff like that, and they wouldn't even take my money.
No kidding. No, I was just
Yeah.
thinking the September 11th was it the anniversary of 20 years just passed, and it really doesn't seem
Yeah.
like it was that long ago. And I was hoping that we'd be allowed to talk more about it in the future. 20 years has passed and still not, right?
No, yeah, it's taboo.
Yeah.
A lot of things are taboo on that. So yeah, I'll get into how I discovered ley lines. I was just playing around on Google Earth, like we
Yeah.
all do, right?
Yeah, Google Earth is really my favorite video game, really. It's like I stopped playing PlayStation. I kind of switched to Google Earth. I just can't switch back because Google Earth is filled with so much amazing stuff you can do, and it's
Yeah.
free, and everyone has it. It's amazing.
So this is where my journey began as far as ley lines go.
Okay.
This is Fort J in New York Harbor, And this is one of the old forts, and these are Ravelins here. So you have one on each corner.
Yeah.
So you put your cannons on there, and they actually call these batteries. And it's interesting because these are energy lines, and they have batteries. But anyway, there is a fifth Ravelin that was put in on this fort because it was originally just the four. And that's what you need for defensive purposes. But they put this fifth one in here, and I thought, well, why? That serves no defensive purpose whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, let me look to see where this goes. If I went, to the center of the fort, to the center of that Ravelin, do it like, what was that, 4.15 degrees. Where the heck does this go? So,
No, it's really interesting to see how you came across ley lines, because maybe I'll briefly touch how I did as well, and it's a completely different story, so it'll be interesting to see how they blended in the long run.
So, 4.15. So I ended up over here at World Trade Center.
Okay.
And then you can see the distance. It's 7,500 feet. Well, back in the day when they built that fort, a common unit of measurement was what do they call that? It's 18 inches a cubit.
Oh, cubit. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cubit. So it's exactly 5,000 cubits is what my line was. So okay, well, what, that's just a coincidence, right? So
yeah.
And then I'm playing around a little bit more, and I find another fort. Let's see, over here in Boston, Fort Independence.
Yeah.
And again, this was originally a I'm going to be able to find that thing. Originally, it was a four-sided fort.
Okay.
But they tore They tore it completely down, and
oh yeah, I see it there.
Yeah, made it a 5-1. So, so I did the same thing. You can even see these kind of the lines that are in these paths that they have in here that go straight to the to the batteries, to the Ravelins.
Oh yeah, I see that.
And so then what do I got here? I got like 0.77. So I figure, okay, what if I went 5,000 cubits? And I'm not as accurate as I would be.
Now, cubits, that sounds familiar. Is that the one that they use for the pyramid measurements as well?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The Bible then would use it, maybe.
Yeah, it's in the Bible.
Okay, yeah, so that's where I've heard of it.
Yeah, so anyway, I ended up right about here. Close enough. And so I ended up at the Boston Logan Airport.
Wow.
And so then I had to research, okay, well, where did the terrorists supposedly take off from?
Yeah.
They took off from runway 9, runway 4R. Right where this line went.
Okay.
So I thought, well, okay, that's interesting. Now, what if I went and drew a line from that point?
Yeah.
And I went to the World Trade Center.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, well, yeah, then that gives me a kind of a bearing there.
Yeah.
World Trade Center there. And let's see, 235 degrees. Well, where does that take me? Well, then I ended up 235 degrees. Is that? No, that's not Washington. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we just had a viewer tune into the show, Wick News 8100. He's saying good evening. And he says, yeah, Boston has the 8-spoke wheel city layout. Star forts are amazing.
Yeah.
So I guess he's familiar with them as well.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see.
Yeah, have you ever taken courses on how to use Google Earth? I noticed one thing I noticed when I'm trying to use it is like, God, I'm watching a lot of tutorial videos on YouTube, but I wish there was an official tutorial place where you could learn how to use it better. Because, man, there's so many different ways to draw lines. Like, there's the ruler, and then there's the path, and then there's the lines. So when you use these ones, are you using the ruler? It's hard for me to make out.
Yeah.
Oh, the ruler, okay.
Yeah.
No, what I did too is for my Washington, D.C. layout, I filled in a little bit of the lines for it for today's show, and we'll show how some of it actually coincides with this same line too. It's pretty wild.
So, okay, so I went through the two points that I created off of the star forts.
Yeah.
And I ended up at the Pentagon.
Which is essentially another star fort.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
And so then I was researching what else happened on September 11th, and then I found out about the raid on Chapultepec Castle. It happened during the American and Spanish War.
Oh, no kidding. No, I hadn't heard of that.
And so that happened. They had their Council of War on September 11th. They actually did the invasion on the 13th, but it was an important date, September 11th, again. And they murdered a bunch of people. They hung 30 Catholics. They cut the hearts out of 6 boys. They said they committed suicide.
Jeez.
So I thought, okay, well, if I go right from that point at Boston Logan Airport, right through the center of the Pentagon.
Yeah.
That's what am I, 230? Yeah, 235. And I go, will that take me to the, will that take me to Chapultepec Castle?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was wondering what point in Mexico that you were going to pick, because I was thinking Mexico's a pretty big place, and I just generically placed it on Mexico. So it'd be neat to see where you actually measured from.
Yeah. So I better...
No, like in my searches with ley lines, I noticed there's 2 patterns of ley lines that I've been able to map on Google Earth. One is pretty much exclusive to ancient sites, and then there's another one that's mapped just with the actual like equinox and equators and the tropic points as they are today. So I was always wondering maybe if you had any inclination as why there'd be a difference between the 2 ley line patterns. Maybe as the Earth shifted in some period of time that you think, or maybe just these Freemasons are doing it slightly on the older design for another reason.
Oh, you mean for ancient ley lines?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really follow. I haven't really done too much of the ancient ley lines, but yeah, no, there's a little bit of continental shift,
Yeah.
That's
what I was wondering. Like, it seems like there's an old ley line pattern that is so close to the modern one. It makes you wonder what has changed. Could be continental shifts, or.
Yeah. So the ley lines that I have, that I discovered, are modern ones, that have been made, the last 200, about 200 years or so, and so there's no continental shift in anything, and so they're all perfect.
Yeah, which it makes it a lot nicer. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway. By lining up those points, I ended up here with this where the yellow line is. Okay. It doesn't go exactly to the castle, it doesn't go to that monument. It doesn't go to that one. It didn't go to any of them. And I'm thinking, well, what the heck? It's got to be something here. And
So
so I
close,
kept,
yeah.
it's close. And so I kept zooming in right where I knew that the line was. I don't know if it'll do that at this time, but and then it ended up giving me a ground view. Huh, doesn't even show it now.
I think I saw it briefly there. There was like another structure it went to underneath the trees.
Yeah, but it gave me a ground view. But yeah, I'm not getting it now. Let's see. Exit ground view. When I did it before, right? Because I knew
There. Yeah.
I knew where it had to be.
Yeah, because you had the tool
But-
to measure where it should line up.
Yeah, but it just wasn't at any of these things. Let's see if I can. Yeah, like it's weird, because I would have never discovered this had it not given me the ground view.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that it would do that again, but it's right here under these trees. Anyway, it's Oblisco a los niños héroes.
And that's Spanish for...
the obelisk of the boy heroes.
Ah, no kidding. Yeah, I can
So-
make out the outline of it. I think what it is if you go to Google Maps, sometimes that'll give you a better view as well.
Maybe I'll plot that that there, and then I'll get my little man and see if he'll show me over here.
Oh yeah, you can drag him just like Google Maps. Cool.
Yeah, he's not showing the blue line there. Huh. Yeah, because somebody had taken video of it and inputted it. So, oh well. So Oblisco a los Niños Héroes was it was made for the 6 boys, and an obelisk on ley lines are very common.
Yeah.
In ancient times, that's what they used, I think, to transmit probably some kind of information, across the lines or power or something. And so on modern ley lines, I find pyramids, obelisks. I find ritual sacrifice sites.
Ooh, yeah.
So when I did the research on this site itself, so this was 1847 when the Freemasons came down here and sacrificed the boys, and they said they committed suicide.
Ooh, jeez.
But they 600 years earlier is where the Aztecs, they had their very first human sacrifice at the same point.
Yeah.
Right here. Yeah, right. This is this is the castle itself is built up on a hill, and then there's a really steep hill here.
Okay.
And then it goes back down to where the obelisk is at. And that's exactly the same point, where the Aztecs did their first human sacrifice.
Jeez. Yeah, it's weird that you're mentioning all this because, I've had an amulet in my family for a while, and it acts really weird when I get involved with sacrifice research. And it went crazy last night, and I was kind of wondering if this topic was going to come up on the show tonight, and it's kind of blowing my mind that these lines are connected to sacrifice. No, it's weird because ancient mysteries or legends talk about how ancient sacrifice has been a big part of how even the gods used to create our planet. So I was like, maybe that's why, right? This very energy that the gods were using to form the earth is being harnessed by other people for other reasons that we've yet to understand. And I'll just show briefly the ancient sight line that we were talking about there for a minute, and yeah, I guess I'll have to minimize this just for a second. No, the documentary I found about it was called Revelations of the Pyramids. I believe it's made by another French guy, actually. And what I have here is the purple line, and that one is the one that's covered in his documentary a lot. And that one goes through, what is it? The Pyramid of Egypt. It goes through the one big one in Cambodia. What is that? Angkor Wat. And then it goes through Easter Island. So you get a whole bunch of these ancient sight lines, and then there's another one that goes through these, like the Baski, Kemrong, Tikal. That's this purple line there. So I basically had two lines that I was going with, and then I just did the ones that I'm familiar with where I live in Canada. Like we have some sacrifice spots as well, and traced it back down to Easter Island. And next thing you know, I had this purple outline of where the sacrifices were going. And then the one that's in blue, this blue one is the one that's based off traditional, like modern ones, where if you measure from the equinox and the tropic lines, it actually creates almost the identical pattern, but it's just off by a bit. So that's what really pissed me off when I was making it. I wanted the ancient one and the modern one to match precisely, but they wouldn't. So I ended up just making two maps because I was like, instead of trying to hybridize it into one, I really need to make both to show the difference. So I'm glad that you mentioned all that stuff. That's pretty wild. I'll bring you back up here. I can't believe that it's connected to sacrifice on each spot too. I was hoping it was just the obelisks, but yeah, I guess obelisks. And
yeah. So yeah, and you know the other thing on the Obelisco a los Niños Héroes, I did a little more research and I found out that it was a Freemason President Diaz that commissioned the obelisk, and then the very first sitting president ever to visit Mexico was Harry Truman.
Okay.
And that was in 1947. So they did the sacrifice in 1847. You know, the very first sacrifice there was when the Aztecs did it in 1247.
Yeah.
And so they when they cut the hearts out of those boys, that was in 1847, and then 1947, Harry Truman shows up. He's a 33-degree Freemason.
Yeah.
And so they had a big parade for him and everything, because, I mean, that's a huge deal. Very first sitting American president ever to visit Mexico.
Yeah.
And so he was, on this parade route. And then he told the driver, he says, let's go to a flower shop. I want to get a huge bouquet of flowers. So he gets this huge, massive flower thing. And then he says, now take me to Obelisco a los Niños Héroes.
Wow.
And so he went there in front of the obelisk and laid a huge wreath of flowers on that, because it's such an important site for high-level Freemasons.
Yeah. No, some of the viewers just posted a comment here. Mexico also legalized abortion, and he thinks that's why. I don't know if it's related, but it could be. Makes you wonder.
Yeah. I mean, that could be. But yeah, there's a lot of sacrifices in there. I have a friend, Fernando Tagala. He used to live in Mexico City, and I went to visit him and his brother, who still lives in there. Fernando lives in Switzerland now, but we all went together there, and we visited a lot of the really important sites, like the obelisk, and then we went to the pyramids. We went to Coquilco. Coquilco is it's a round, really old, kind of like a pyramid thing, but it's not. But it's a round, just a round shape to it.
Okay.
And that was on one of the lines that Fernando discovered.
Wow.
And it was a line that went from Stonehenge to Coquilco, and then the line went through Teotihuacan. Through the temple of the feathered serpent.
Jeez.
And so when Sandy Hook occurred, he thought, well, that's kind of close to my line. Let me look at it. It was right on it. I mean, it had, the line went over a half-round courtyard where they probably did the sacrifice at that time. I don't know if you know much about Sandy Hook. But
no, I didn't really cover that too much. Well, I listened to AJ talk about it for a while, but I never really got into it in too much depth because I think that was around when his channel got taken down.
Well, yeah.
I should have kept watching him on InfoWars and all that stuff, but I only tune in occasionally.
Yeah, no, I don't watch him at all. I mean, I know that he's compromised.
Yeah. Well, I'm
But
sure he's
yeah.
got an entertainment business to run at the same time, so he can only do so much.
Well, no. I think he's CIA.
Oh,
Um,
really? Wow.
oh yeah. When I did my movie Operation Terror, it won several awards, and I was going to advertise on his,
Oh,
Prison
that's
Planet,
right. Yeah, you said that
Infowars,
he
and
wouldn't
stuff like
run
that.
it.
Yeah, and so they asked, I said, I want to advertise, my movie, and they said, well, let me see a copy of it.
Yeah.
So I sent them a DVD, and they go, so what about it? And they go, oh, we lost it. Send me another one. So I send them another one, and then they just dropped off the face of the planet.
Jeez.
And I had other people that had advertised with them. They said, oh, well, let me call. I've advertised with them before. They'll take your money. Come on.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? And same thing. It just total silent treatment. Would not let me advertise on their websites. Which would be, of course, right up their alley, right? I mean, a movie, a feature film about 9/11 truth would be, perfect for them, but they wouldn't allow it.
Yeah,
so,
that's really odd. Yeah, I would have never guessed it would have happened. So yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, if people want to do a little research on Sandy Hook, I recommend the best thing to look at is the police reports.
Yeah.
They are diametrically opposed to what you heard on the media.
Wow.
Just there's nothing similar about it, And you read the police reports, and that what was said in the media is totally impossible, and because the media is not held accountable. I mean, if you read BS off of the teleprompter, what's going to happen to you? Nothing. You're going to keep your job is what's going to happen.
Well, the big thing in Canada's media right now too is the government just pump loads millions or even like hundreds of millions into each different news agency. So really you're left with no objective news reporting anymore because they're all paid off. It's ridiculous.
Well, in the United States, when they did the church hearings back in '75, Senator Frank Church found out that he identified 300 CIA assets running the newsrooms of all the major news organizations in the United States. And that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So everything that comes out, it has to be approved by the CIA.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So
yeah, I was just going to touch on something briefly before we get going too far from explaining the sacrifice thing. This is something we actually just talked about on the last show that we did, so I'll show it quickly just for a second here. Now, if anyone's wondering about the ancient legends and about how sacrifice really is like the foundation of how our planet was created, the First Nations people talked about how the head of a giant was cut off and tied to Turtle Island. And then that same legend's found in Hindu, Chinese. And then when you put this poster up of what the world looks like, it's so odd that like you look at where the most densely populated population of the earth happens to be, right where the procreative organs are for the elephant, where the blood comes out from the neck, just happens to be the warm water of the Mediterranean. And if you really want to get into the weirdest part of it too, where the ley lines connect into this, is when you take the head of the giant, which it seems odd that it would be an elephant, you look at where the Amazon River is, there's a ley line point that connects right there for making the eye, and then the Amazon River flows down like it's tears. My friend from South America was saying, yeah, that's actually the direction that the Amazon flows there as well. So it's so weird that sacrifice, legends, and all these like ley lines are actually really more connected than I think people have realized. It's kind of like flown under the radar for how long? Like since, well, I guess the Freemasons know about it, but a lot of other people don't, it seems. So yeah, I just figured I'd mention that quickly.
Yeah. So the other a really weird one that I found, and I wasn't looking for this about when we're talking about human sacrifice. Let me get back to.
I think what I'll do too is I'll bring up a little bit of. Oh, we'll do that in a sec. Now, I was going to say what I did is I actually created a bunch of ley lines that go through all the obelisks that we have here in Canada as well. There's one that connects the Peace Tower in Ottawa. It's like a giant clock tower, like an obelisk. There's one that goes through the CN Tower. So there's a couple good ones here north of the border as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay, can you see my screen now?
There, yeah.
Okay. So now this is this was the Desert Mesa Elementary School, and you'll notice that the whole school is turned about 45 degrees from the street.
Yeah.
Everything's turned here, and I had a ley line going through it like this, and went back to Obelisco a los Niños Héroes, and then back up to Robin Williams' house. Through the church, they went, through the Church of Satan, and some other things. So anyway, so I had that, and then I also had there was another school over here. Let's see. Oh yeah, this one here. It's Southwestern Christian School. And you can see that this one here is kind of laid out a little bit like Washington D.C., like where the White House is. It's got like the owl here, the eyes of the owl, and
oh yeah, I see that.
And the face and stuff like this. So
anyway,
from this line, this one went to this is one Fernando discovered. He discovered this one that went from the Church of Satan to the Kiss nightclub in Brazil.
No kidding. Yeah, they have that satanic element to their music, I guess.
Oh, well, no, the Kiss nightclub is that's where they sacrificed over 200 college students.
What? Jeez.
Yeah, it was a sacrifice for the Olympics, and it was on the day that the day they did that sacrifice was it was one of the days that the Aztecs used to do sacrifices and stuff like that. But anyway. What they did is they had a concert in there. They set off some pyrotechnics, and they only had one exit, and they locked the doors, and over 200 college students perished in the fire.
Oh,
so
man.
Yeah, so that was horrible. So I have this. So I had this line, going from Church of Satan down, that Fernando discovered. I discovered the one from Obelisco a los Niños Héroes back up to the Church of Satan, going through this school.
Yeah.
And okay, so I had these points. This one here going up to the northwest. This one going to the south west. This one going to the southeast. And it's funny that the line starts at school. It's called the Southwestern School.
Yeah.
So my point starts at the Southwestern School, and. So I'll clear that out here. So I thought, well, where the heck does this point go if I went to the northeast?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, all right, well, let me find out where would that go? And I was being more accurate than I am right now with it. Let's see.
Now, I was just wondering, like, some of the viewers are probably going to ask in the future, with all these different ley line patterns that you've made in KMZ files, do you have a website that you share them all on, or they would have to contact you to get them?
It's best just, no, I don't. But just go to my YouTube channel, Operation Terror YouTube channel, and I have videos there, and then quite often I have the points written down in the description.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was doing too. Usually I took a few of your videos and just made my own versions.
Okay, so when I was accurately running this line, which I'm not doing right now, I ended up coming across this giant swastika.
Oh, man. Yeah, and I know what that symbology is all about. If you go beyond the entire World War II history, it's actually referring to the North Star spinning. And then there's a sacrifice ritual that's associated with that. So that's where I bet you that comes in. I can't even show the slides for that. We'll probably get our channels taken down.
So I went to the spot, the center of this swastika. Well, what swastika is the Denver International Airport.
Ah, no kidding. The one with all the crazy symbology. I know one of my
down
one of the guys
down
I
in the basement.
Yeah, a friend of mine went to the airport and he didn't believe in the C word stuff, so he was going in this airport and after he saw all the paintings and stuff in that airport, he's like, "Oh my God, I think there really is something going on." Right? It's like it
Yeah.
freaks people out when they see it. If people haven't been to the airport before, for some reason they have like the most grotesque artwork you could ever imagine, like all over this weird airport. So yeah.
Yeah, killing children and stuff like that. And
Yeah, like why would you have paintings like that for no reason, right?
they have
God.
the horse of the apocalypse is on there,
Yeah.
and they brought Anubis into the airport.
No kidding,
Um,
Anubis again. Jeez.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So okay, so I thought, all right, well that's interesting, and I didn't even know that much about Denver International Airport. Actually when
Yeah.
I
It
was
seems
running
so
for
normal.
yeah, when I was running for vice president, I was at the airport, and they picked me up in a limo, and they had a big crowd of people there, and they had a baby for me to kiss for photo ops and all that stuff. I had a good time, but I never knew about the conspiracy stuff at that airport at all.
Yeah.
So I followed the line, back towards that elementary school, and
Yeah.
I ended up. Is this it here? This one is kind of.
No, what
kind
I'll
of
what I'll think I'll
moving
do
with-
in a few seconds. We just got another question from the viewers. They said they didn't know about the North Star connection to that symbol. Which probably shouldn't say too many times. But anyways, so I'll show my ley line and how it connects.
Sure.
So, but we'll let you finish here. I just wanted to
Okay.
let the viewers know. We'll cover that in a sec. Oh, and they also wanted to know if it connects to Area 51 at all. So we might cover that. I don't know if it does.
No, I don't have anything there.
Yeah.
So this is an Air Force base. It doesn't have runways anymore, but it used to have runways, and they were shaped in a pentagon shape.
Wow.
So the line goes over that. I always have to when I'm doing the ley lines, I always have to make sure that I'm looking straight down at this stuff here.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the point in the air. Yeah, the point I got in the airport. I better.
It's weird that you mentioned the airport thing because you remember how I just said the place up north I was researching connects to Easter Island. On the way, it happens to stop by somewhere important, so I typed it in. It happens to be, what is that? Fort Knox, the big gold depository.
Oh, really?
So if you
Wow.
take that ley line and it goes near Fort Knox but doesn't touch it exactly, I was like, why did it get so close? And then I noticed that it goes to an airport and it completes the airport into that weird symbol with the ley line. So I was like, wow, that's really weird. Like, what are the odds that these airports are always involved? I guess it's because it's a symbol that you can see from the air, so that's probably why they used it.
Well, I think there's more than that. I did a video about flying saucers and
Oh, no
and
kidding.
ley lines. Yeah, and I used this line that we're on right now to in that video.
Okay.
So anyway, let's see here. So when I
No, when I was watching your videos, I had time to watch the September 11th one, but I figured that I'd leave some of the videos to watch after and just let you explain it to me on the go so that I find most people find it more entertaining to watch a show when people are discovering stuff for the first time. And this is really mind-blowing stuff. I'm kind of glad that I saved it.
Yeah, so then I went to I was looking for schools, public buildings, that kind of thing. Houses don't mean anything to me, but things that were built by the government and such.
Yeah,
And
because
I
then
thought,
they had
okay.
some sort of contractor that was involved in it that could be
Yeah.
in on it.
Yeah, so anyway, I ended up at this school here. And I thought, well, this is interesting because the school is orientated with the ley line.
Yeah,
Instead
it's
of
like on an
instead of being
angle.
with the street, right?
Yeah, it's on
And
a
I
weird
thought-
angle for sure.
Yeah. So I thought, well, okay, well, what school is that?
Is that one we're not allowed to say?
Columbine High School.
Oh, no kidding. Jeez.
And then I said, well, where did they kill those kids? Well, they killed them in the cafeteria. Where's the cafeteria? Right underneath my line. The line goes right through the center of the cafeteria where the kids were killed.
Jeez.
And so then I had to research Columbine because I didn't know enough about it. And
yeah, I've only briefly heard about it.
Yeah. So anyway, 8 years after the massacre, the police report came out. And again, the police report is totally different than what was in the media.
Yeah.
So there were 101 witnesses that saw the shooters, and they weren't the ones that were mentioned in the media.
Jeez.
And people knew some of the shooters because they had gone to school there the year before. They wore these black trench coats, and they were, they're just crazy guys, Satanists and stuff. But they were with some black ops people, some professionals too. And so if you read 101 Columbine witnesses or something like that, you can look through the whole list, and they positively identified these people, and they were arrested.
Yeah.
But then they were released without charges.
Jeez.
But there is way more than enough evidence to convict all those people of mass murder. But the powers to be got a hold of the situation when let those guys go that were actually did the killings.
Jeez.
The guy,
how that would happen, man.
The kids that they ended up accusing, they're showing a video where they were all mad and screaming and everything. What that video was about, that those kids did, was about being raped by some policemen.
Oh my God. Jeez. No, I was having a feeling this show was going to take a dark turn today, but I was like, I guess I underestimated it. Right? No, it's okay.
Now here's a really interesting site here.
It's better we know than not know, I think, right? Hopefully we can prevent some of this kind of stuff from happening again in the future. That's how I look at it, right?
Right, yeah. So this...
If you forget history, you're doomed to repeat it, sort of thing, right?
Yeah. So on this one here, I found out that John McCain had a place in, let's see, this is Hidden Valley. I think it's still Colorado.
Okay.
No, it's New Mexico? Sedona. I don't know. Arizona. Oh yeah, Arizona, of course. Yeah, he's a senator from Arizona. So I found out that he had a house in Arizona, and so I wanted to look. I thought, well, I wonder if his house is on my ley line. Well, the ley line goes here, and his house is right here in Hidden Valley. And it's just a little enclave of about 10 houses, a private gate and everything in here.
Wow.
You can't get into here,
That's actually the same name they give for the very wealthy area in my city, is they call it Hidden Valley as well.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. It goes by a river, and like almost all the wealthy, like the most elite people from the entire region all live in that spot.
But where the ley line goes over is where these roads are.
Yeah.
And this is the ancient symbol of what's his name? Kokokopelli, I think it is. Kokokopelli. He's the sky god.
Okay. So it'd be another constellation.
So they just cut these roads out to make it into the image of Kokokopelli.
Yeah, as above, so below, sort of thing.
Yeah, so it's interesting. That line goes directly over top of the sky god.
Wow.
So in my in my video about flying saucers on ley lines, what I did was I used this line to see if there were any very many reports of UFOs on this line.
Oh yeah, like you were saying, UFOs and ley lines, right?
Yeah, because these are magnetic lines. This goes. Sometimes you lose lines when you get up into the mountains if you get them too close.
Yeah.
But this one here goes it goes right over the center of this building here.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm gonna lose line when I get in closer. But in the center of this building, there is a pyramid right here.
Wow.
Now these marks on this on the top of this building are perfectly lined up with the ley line.
Yeah, see that.
Yep. Yeah. And so I also looked to see if there was any connections with the one that would go off of at 90 degrees, and it went to where did it go? It went to Umpqua College in Oregon, where they did a human sacrifice there.
Jeez. So does your pattern, like all these different lines, do you usually extend them completely around the globe, or do you just stop at two spots once you find it?
Yeah, sometimes I go around the globe, but most of the time I just go like coast to coast.
Yeah, because it's hard to keep the line straight, I noticed, when you're trying to make it go right around the globe, right? Yeah,
it is. But it's easy for me to do it on the continent.
Yeah.
And then, so...
Now, if anyone's wondering just a brief history about why some maps actually did do it around the entire globe, the most famous ley line map of all is actually the Perry Reese book. And I've got a copy of it here, ordered it from the museum in Turkey. And they called them Great Circle maps. And what they did is they made each one go right around. So that's the difference between a traditional map and a ley line map is traditional maps, the lines get smaller and smaller as you get farther away from the equators, like not as big of a perimeter around. But if you go with a Great Circle map, each point where they measure from, it's actually a full line around the globe. And that's where you end up with these weird ley lines.
Right. Now, so have you ever heard of quantum locking?
I believe so, but only briefly.
Okay, so they do this in labs. What they do is they take a little flying saucer, and what they do is let me back out of here. So they take this little flying saucer, and they have this magnetic circle, or they make it like a little slot car racetrack, or whatever they want to do with it, right? With magnets.
Yeah.
And they take this saucer, they get a superconductor underneath it, they cool it way down. And you like a superconductor would be mercury. If you take mercury and you cool it down really, really far, it becomes a superconductor. And the superconductor will hold 40,000 times its own weight and lock into a magnetic ley line or into a magnet line. And so in these experiments that they do in this lab, they take these little flying saucers, they kick it, and the things will go round and round and round. It'll never stop until they run out of coolant for the superconductor.
Yeah, because then it's no longer stable and it falls apart.
Yeah. So there's no resistance though. But there's when we're on these lines, and if they put something on top of the track, they pile up some stuff like that, then the little saucer will go over top of it. Just like it will go over mountains.
Jeez.
So I had the idea. Well, what if I look at my ley lines? Do they have a lot of UFO activity on them? Are there flying saucers on these lines? So that was the line I looked at. The only one, the one we just looked at, the one from Yuma to Denver. And so the first thing I did is Sedona has, they talk about the healing properties of energy from the earth and all this stuff in Sedona. Have you ever been to Sedona, Arizona?
Arizona. I'm thinking Mount Shasta, but that's California.
Oh no, right? No, that's in California. But it's a beautiful place. Red rocks everywhere, and it's just gorgeous. So I looked it up. UFO Sedona. What do they got? They have UFO tours there.
Oh yeah, that's right. I've heard of them coast to coast before. That's where I heard
it. So you take these tours, and they have night vision goggles, and you're guaranteed to see UFOs.
Wow.
So of course, I packed my bags and I go to Sedona, Arizona.
Yeah.
And stayed overnight there, but unfortunately the night I was there, it was cloudy and rainy, and they canceled the tour. But So then I went to Denver to see if they had any UFO activity there, and I found this local news program.
The
and
Denver
a guy,
Lights, yeah.
Yeah, this guy, he had seen this UFO, flying across the sky really fast. And so he took a high-speed camera because he noticed it was like 3 o'clock every afternoon. So he took a high-speed camera and he recorded it, and he picked up the images of this UFO flying by at supersonic speeds, and he shared it with the local news program. And so they looked at it and they, all right, well, we'll check it out. And so they brought their own camera, did the exact same thing, got the exact same images, and they ran it by a bunch of experts, and they said, yeah, we can't explain it. It's an unidentified flying object. We don't know what it is. Yeah. And so we have all of these UFOs on that ley line.
Yeah,
and
that
so
actually
I
ties
really
right into.
There's a connection.
Yeah, one of our viewers was just asking the connection or a question that ties into that. Where was it here? Denver Airport. Oh yeah, he was asking if other planets have the ley lines, and I believe that they do. So that if UFOs wanted to use ley lines, they wouldn't have to do it even exclusively on the Earth. Like I use Google to compare my maps to Mars, and it lines up with a lot of the big pyramids, or not pyramids, volcanoes. So you can see that these ley lines are even shaping other planets, and they even align with the sun pretty well. So, yeah.
Interesting.
So I think we're really on to the right track there to think, hey, maybe the UFOs have tapped into this. Almost like ley lines could be gravity lines in a way. That's what I wonder too.
Well, I think it's mostly magnetic energy going through there. Because everybody knows about the electromagnetic sphere that comes out of the poles, and it comes back into the poles, and this is what keeps us alive, protects us from the radiation from the sun. And so after they come back into the Earth, well, they have to go somewhere, and I think that they're going on these magnetic ley lines, back up through the Earth and then back up to the pole, and to complete the circuit. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking. It could actually be related to magnetism. Just one slide I had here, quick, I'll show. Is like if you look at a triangle, usually if you have two measurements in a triangle, you can figure out the last. So what they've been trying to do with science lately is look at the forces, and gravity has never really been described as a force because they can't prove like the exchange of gravitons. So I was thinking maybe there will be a way where we can actually make equations that'll harmonize all three of these. So we won't actually think of electric and light or gravity as being separate formulas. Eventually we'll get one that links them all. So it might not be gravity, it could be. I'm still a little bit wondering about that, but I'm definitely open to the idea of magnetism being involved, for sure.
Right, yeah. What we're taught in school is that the Earth spinning keeps us on the Earth. Well, that doesn't work because, when I tried that experiment when I was little. I'd take a bucket and spin it around, and the water doesn't go to the inside; it goes out. It's forcing it out. So if it was the Earth spinning, well, that would just we just lose all of our water, and everything would fall off of the Earth. So that's not what's creating the gravity, obviously. So it's something else.
Gravity research is very still theoretical at this point, even though we've been studying it for so long, and most people accept it as fact. But I think all the details we're still a long ways away from reaching. Right?
Yeah. So here, I'll show you another really interesting line. When I did have a
Sure. I'll bring up a quick slide just as one of the viewers was asking what the other planet ley line patterns look like. We'll just bring up a quick view of Venus for a sec.
A big UT says.
So there's Venus if you want to see what some of the ley line patterns look like that. I noticed that they've got quite a bit of orb going around and branching out, almost like the electric universe theory. The electric universe theory guys love these pictures from other planets because they line up really nice.
Yeah, I kind of go with that. All right.
And what's the other planet? Oh yeah, I had another one of Saturn. Saturn's another one that people like to see the ley line pattern for. We'll bring it up just briefly while he gets that ready. So yeah, there's what Saturn's ley line pattern looks like on the pole. So it's kind of interesting how it does line up pretty interesting. What's another good one?
Yeah, you got the hexagon up on the top. The storms on the top of the pole, and that's When you have the black cube of Saturn,
Yeah.
on the 9/11 sites, they did a lot of black cubes. Where the Twin Towers are now inverted black cubes. They did a cube at the Boston Logan Airport. On a lot of these sacrificial sites. I did a whole video on the ritual sites of 9/11.
Of the cube, yeah, no kidding. I should show you some of the cube stuff that I'm working on too. But no, this one's just the planet. What is it? Europa or not? It's the moon of
the moon.
Jupiter. And they're always trying to figure out what's causing the cracks on the surface. And I find it neat that a lot of the major cracks line up, but there's definitely going to be so many lines that almost anything can line up at that point.
Yeah. So let me show you this line that one of my. Can you see my screen?
It's got a bunch of like layers going into layers. Oh, there it came up. It seems like it takes a second, then it kicks in. All right, there it is.
So this is never heard of it before until my subscriber told me to look at this thing.
Yeah, thank God for the viewers. They help with almost 90% of my work too.
Yeah, and you probably never heard of this. This is the San Jacinto Battleground Monument.
No, I hadn't heard of it.
This is the largest obelisk in the world.
Unless you count the CN Tower.
Yeah. So this is basically the Washington Monument with this giant star on top of it. Yeah. And this was built during the Depression, 1930s. And they say it's to remember a 18-minute battle that happened right here during the Spanish-American War, which is silly, right? You're going to spend millions of dollars during the Depression to commemorate the 18-minute battle. So
yeah, that's weird.
So he told me, he says, you should look at that. So I thought, all right, I need to look at that. That's very intriguing. It's got to be something. So I went from I took the center of the obelisk. I went through the reflecting pool they have here.
Yeah,
they also
reflecting
have
pool for the CN Tower. They built a giant aquarium next to it, and they used to use the Sky Dome, but
really,
yeah.
that would be interesting. They probably have something in there that where that goes to, because that's what they do with reflecting
pools. Thinking if I could get you to dig a little deeper into the CN Tower one before we go, remind me, and I'll show it to you quick before we wrap up. I know I don't want to take up all your time.
Yeah. So anyway, so I go from the center of that obelisk, and then I go through this thing here, and this is called a compass.
Yeah.
Right. So you can see that obviously this is all part of the line.
Yeah, lines up right with it. That's hilarious.
Oh yeah, perfectly. And
no, this ley line stuff, it gets addictive. You ever notice that? Once you find a few that are actually lining up, you're like, oh God, where's the next one?
You could spend so many hours on this stuff. It's incredible. And so I took it. I took my line all the way to California, pretty close to the coast, and I ended up here.
Yeah.
At the Watsonville Airport. Well, this runway is lined up with the line.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting.
Seen that happen a few times now.
Yeah. And so I thought, well, yeah, that's got to be something. But, it's just a stupid airport. Well, the airport was built in World War II, like 1942. So it was like 10 years or so after the obelisk was built. Mm-hmm. But it's got to be part of the line, but it can't be what's important about that giant, the biggest obelisk in the world. There's got to be something more important than that. So what I did was I just slowly scrolled through the through the desert, and everywhere, looking for something.
Okay.
And and I didn't know what I would find, obviously, when I do these kind of things.
Yeah. You have a hunch, but you're never sure.
I'm going over this thing here. Okay, so I ended up at a 14-sided polygon.
Wow.
And so I go, well, that's interesting, So I get a little closer, and I'm over here at a this oval. Okay. I go, what the heck is this thing?
Yeah.
It's an obelisk.
Oh, it
Out
is too. Yeah,
out
you
in the
can
middle
see.
of the desert,
You can
right
see
on
the
my line.
shadow.
Right?
What the heck?
And
Too much, man.
at least lines jump around a little bit. But anyway, so what I find out is that obelisk was erected to remember the Trinity test site.
Oh, the nuclear tests, yeah.
The very first nuclear test that they did, I think it was in 1945. And so, I had to do research on that. Well, they did the first bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It was in August of 1945.
Yeah.
The Japanese surrendered in January of 1945. But they would not accept the surrender. So when General MacArthur, he presented the surrender to Roosevelt.
Yeah.
And he said, look, it's got everything that we want. It's really an unconditional surrender. The only thing is, they want to keep the emperor in there. And you got to keep the emperor in there because otherwise people will just keep fighting.
Yeah.
If we keep the emperor in there and the emperor tells everybody to lay down their arms, stop fighting, they're going to stop fighting. We get everything back. We get the Philippines back. We get everything that we want, we get out of this surrender.
Wow.
And then, Roosevelt's like, well, we're not going to do that. And he goes, why? Why wouldn't you do that? That's crazy. People are going to die. We're going to have tens of thousands of soldiers that are going to continue to die if we keep fighting this war when we got everything we want.
Yeah.
And he said, Douglas, you're America's greatest general, but you're its worst politician. You don't understand. And so anyway, Roosevelt ends up getting poisoned when he was in Georgia. And then we get the 33-degree Freemason Harry Truman as the president.
Yeah.
And and of course the bombs were on the 33-degree parallel. That's where they exploded the bombs in Japan. 7 months after they surrendered, and then they accepted their surrender.
Yeah. Roosevelt actually has a history in Canada as well, and the place that he was coming and vacationing happens to be the sacrifice spot line that it was going through that I was talking about in Canada. And it's an island that the First Nations people call the most sacred place in the entire world, where people go to unlock their powers. It was like
Wow.
he went there, and then he ended up being involved with all those bombings. So I was like, isn't that kind of a strange coincidence that he was on the sacrifice line taking his vacations there, and that just happened to be maybe a weird coincidence again, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'll show a quick image. Someone was asking about the sun, so they wanted to see the sun quick. I'll just show it for a sec. The
Sure.
sun actually does line up pretty good with the ley lines as well. It's like there was a French guy, actually, one of my viewers was saying that it reminds me of the French symbol, or him. And you sort of see like the magnetic pole parts that are like, we're still trying to explain how solar flares work and stuff, so maybe it is something to do with ley lines. I don't really know, but I just find it neat to compare the ley lines on all the different planets. Like, I don't know, it's like once you have the full map and you can just put it on other objects in the solar system, it's amazing how many times it lines up. Yeah, and someone was actually wondering about how, like, the entire solar system, if these ley line patterns are similar. I've noticed the one, like, in the Gulf of Mexico, it actually wraps around. So it's like you have the Gulf of Mexico, you have storms spinning around it, you'll have storms on other planets, and that's why it starts to remind me of the gravity well situation. And some people are ever wondering why I think it's tied to gravity. Even the entire solar system is kind of a weird, like, gravity well ley line pattern to it. Right. So I think we covered some amazing topics already on this. Did you have time to go
Yeah.
through more of yours, or do I have time
Well,
just
yeah.
to?
Let me. I'm going to show you my latest video. It's a
Oh
3 minute
yeah.
video,
Let's do that. Take a little drink break.
and it's recent events, and it's loading right now. I should have just used QuickTime. Darn it.
Yeah,
I don't
quick
have it
time
up.
for the Apple works best.
Yeah. Let's
All
see.
right. Well,
I got it on YouTube. Let me go to QuickTime. Um, let's see here.
now when I was talking about Perry Reese briefly, I'll show that. Remember how we
Yeah.
were talking about compasses and how they tend to connect? This is some of the Reese ley lines when he was connecting them. They had some pretty wild patterns that they would make. I've never actually got my patterns that complex because I found once you're drawing the red layer, it's just so many lines. It's really, you'd have to be an expert mathematician to draw it, I think. But some
Hmm.
of the other ones are very basic. You'll just have an
Oh,
alternating
shoot.
pattern of black, red, green, and then so forth, and doing the great circles around the globe. Which is kind of funny because Perry Reese, like, he was at the time where, like, way long time ago, like, was it 1600s or something, his age? And he was one of those guys that people couldn't explain how he was living so long. Like, it could be related to these maps. We have no idea. But he was, like, into his battles into, I think, his 90s. And then he was beheaded. So I was like, if you were still
Wow.
fighting in your 90s back in, like, the 1600s, isn't that ridiculous when most people only lived to 40? It's like the average lifespan back then. And yet he was still in battle.
Wow.
So I
Well,
don't
I,
know.
I recently found the fountain of youth.
Yeah, really.
It's earthing. So that's a whole new another subject. Maybe we can do a show about that sometime. But it's
Yeah,
um,
there seems like
yeah,
ley
I
lines. They have so many things tied to them. UFOs, like different magic, even immortality, gravity. Who knows what else? I like the
yeah.
UFO one the best. The UFOs are one of my favorite subjects as well. Actually, the ley lines up north by their oldest Stonehenge, it makes that pattern in the sky that we mentioned earlier. I shouldn't say too many times. It's got a lot of UFO reports reported by the military there. So it's like you don't even have to go on some crazy guy's like saying he saw UFOs. You can go right into the military archives and look at all the UFOs that occurred near these sacrifice spots on the ley line. I wish I had that
Hmm.
one handy, but I think it's buried deep in my photo archive.
One.
Oh, and yeah, I should show
Oh.
another thing. If people want to know how ley lines could actually be related to gravity, I'll show that quickly for a sec. The North
Sure.
Pole, if you look at how the North Pole is shaped, it fits the gravity well or the ley line map very, very closely. And then if you take how it used to look in the past and how it looks now, this is where a wandering pole comes in. So it actually draws the track of where the wandering pole went in, and it sort of smashed up this land. So that's one of the mysteries I've been trying to figure out is how did our poles start wandering and why it actually crushed the how the North Pole used to look. And it's funny too, like some people debate about if the North Pole used to look like that. I wasn't so sure either. And I actually found like academic documents that show that early on in Pangea theory, they actually showed that that's what the planet was looking like. So,
Hmm.
not sure exactly why, but it's not just me
Yeah.
going with that theory.
So here's my latest one,
All
and
right.
it also has some sacrifice in here, and it's kind of a fun video, but
All right.
serious subject. But
All right. So we can only see like the layers and layers of windows right now, I think.
oh, you don't have it up yet?
No. It's showing you know how it goes deep and deep in Windows.
Oh, okay. Let me
Usually it
try
loads
again.
after a few seconds. Oh, I think it almost loaded. Yeah, and if anyone wants to get a little tidbit of where the ancient lines in Canada go, oh, that's almost working there. The one in Canada not only goes through like Easter Island, but it goes through another island that has statues that are natural rock formations with legends about giants. And it happens to
Huh.
go through the Russia one that also has weird statues with legends of giants. So there's almost like a ley line that connects all these giant statues for some reason. I can't figure out why, but figured I'd mention that while it loads. Yeah, Flower Pot Island. That's the one. I actually just did a video there on my YouTube channel. If anyone wants to see it, it's called Best Beach in Ontario. I think that's what I titled it.
All right. Can you see my screen now?
I see something that says choose a screen to share, desktop or window.
Dang it. Okay.
So if you choose one of those, I think it might work. Or yeah, if you have trouble playing it, I actually do got the guest's other, was it that terror website? That one is linked in the description, so you should be able to find it. Oh yeah, and we've also got his leyline video. So once you click on that, you should be able to find all his other videos. They'll be on his channel.
Yeah. I know what I'll do. That I'll go. Maybe it.
Yeah.
Can you see anything now?
It's still the in-depth windows. But while that loads, maybe I'll bring up my stuff quick and see if you can get it working in the meantime. So I'll share the CN Tower one before we run out of time because, like, yeah, that CN Tower one, I want to see how the guest is able to add that into some of his theories because, man, it's a wild one. All right, let's see.
Yeah, that'll. I'm sure that'll take some time.
Yeah,
it's
like,
that.
I'll take off the September 11th one. Let's go. All right, so let's take off Draco to Easter Island, Mexico to Stonehenge. All right, and September 11th line. All right, so if you take the line pattern, it not only goes through Ottawa, but if you zoom right in to where it actually goes through in Ottawa, we have a giant clock here, and it's called the Peace Tower. So it's basically a giant obelisk. So it goes right through that. And I was thinking for the reflective pool, maybe it could be the Library of Parliament or maybe the water it's next to. So that's the one for Ottawa. And if you want to see the CN Tower one, let's go to the CN Tower one next. Here it is. It goes through Rochester. It goes through... Let's see. There it is.
My computer is just not keeping up with what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, it's no problem. Take your time. I'll only be a few more minutes here to show these ones off. Where's the CN Tower? Entertainment District. Oh, it's right there. So yeah, so you can see the CN Tower arguably is the world's largest obelisk, and this was the giant aquarium that they built. And you're right, it does line up with the line. And so that's the CN Tower one. And where was the last one I was going to show? I think that could be it for those. Oh yeah, and then the other one, the last line for those obelisk pattern, obviously the one we were just talking about, is the Washington, D.C. layout. And if people are wondering about the Washington, D.C. layout, where is it? Here's the tower. So there's the obelisk that it goes through in Washington, D.C. And I'll just briefly show, I drew it last night because I didn't have it on here yet. Where is it? Washington. Okay, so if you're wondering, like that September 11th line, that's the one in green. And there's the layout of Washington if you fill in all the lines. It's kind of weird, too, that some Freemasons say that their things aren't connected to the all-seeing eye. But if you fill in the full pyramid and you look at the all-seeing eye, can you guess what's here?
Oh, yeah, House of the Temple.
Yeah, Freemason headquarters, the Supreme Council.
So if you go from the Washington Monument,
yeah,
and you go perpendicular from the National Mall, the National Mall makes a line, pretty much goes east-west, right?
Yeah.
Between National Mall is over
there
here,
it is, yeah.
between Lincoln Memorial through the monument. And so if you go perpendicular from that line through the
the reflective pool
through the Washington Monument, and it goes straight to the House of the Temple.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of people think it goes to the White House, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
because it bypasses the White House off to the side and goes right to the House of the Temple.
Wow.
And the House of the Temple is exactly, of course, 13 blocks.
Yeah.
And there's 13 steps on the top of the House of the Temple.
Wow. Yeah, and if anyone's wondering where I was talking about where that President Roosevelt was going to do his Vision Quest stuff to unlock his powers, there happens to be, I shouldn't share it too much, but you have to ask the First Nations people if you want to visit the sacred stone that he visits to unlock his dream powers or the abilities to do things that normal people really couldn't. It's in this region here. Really? On Manitoulin Island. Oh yeah, and then there's the island where the the giant statues are, like Easter Island, like Flower Pot Island that the viewers were showing. And we'll show how it goes right down to Easter Island.
Oh, cool. So you been there?
I haven't actually been on the island, but I've been to the beach across from it, so I was able to take pictures, but I wasn't able to hire a boat that day. So yeah, there's where it connects in Easter Island. So it's weird how like all these island statues are on like island lines. There is actually some gold that's associated with the place up north. Like, remember how I was talking about how the place up north has the oldest Stonehenge going towards that one symbol? Well, the Freemasons are very active in this community up north. So this is where the Stonehenge is, and it's arguably one of the oldest Stonehenge sites in the world. People are debating still what it's used for, or was used for. The First Nations people say it's a power spot where they were able to collect energy and use it as a weapon. So I was like, wow, that's a pretty wild description.
Yeah.
And then it happens to have a holy mountain, which I like to visit quite often for like Vision Quest stuff, and it's like called Mount Kemenus, and they have unsolved sacrifices that occurred there in the 1970s. So it's like actually before my time, so you don't have to worry, it wasn't me involved. No, but so there was an offering table where sacrifices were occurring on this mountain even till modern days. Oh, and then the other thing too is one of the lines goes through this area happens to be a gold line. So if anyone's into like gold prospecting, the gold line happens to go through not only the #1 best spot for gold in Canada, same one for Congo, goes through the area of California. You pretty much name a really popular gold mine, and it's on this line. And not this one going up and down. It's another one I'll cover another time. But it's weird, though, because all the towns in this area, they actually called it a line of gold, almost implying that it was like they knew that there was like a giant line stretching across the globe that had gold in it. Oh, yeah, and then speaking of gold, let's go from this spot here for this line to show that airport. I don't know if it still connects. I think I redrew this one recently.
I always run across airports, and and I actually think that Teotihuacan was an ancient airport.
Wow.
Where it looks like it.
So we'll go to Fort Knox and see how close, see if it actually lands on it or not. Pretty sure it did. So we'll follow this line. It's nice how it does it for us. Yeah, so there was the Fort Knox, and then there's the airport that it starts to draw a pattern on.
And it kind of looks like a pentagram there, too, with the runways.
Yeah, I think with this airport, maybe it's changed over the years, and it used to be a better symbology, but I just thought it was so weird when you mentioned that the lines go through airports, and I found that one with Fort Knox occurring.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd be wild to see how your maps end up working out, like if you did draw them all the way around the world. I know it's a lot harder to do. It took me 4 years to work on my map to get it to the point it is now, and it's not even complete yet.
Yeah.
Now, if anyone's wondering what my map looks like on just regular without the ancient sites, let's see if we can get it. The yellow base layer. And I'll turn off the ancient site ones. The ancient site ones aren't really lining up with it anymore. But if anyone's wondering the measurements, if they want to make it at home, you just got to use the equator, and then you got to use like the tropic lines, and then like the Arctic Circle lines. So these are already officially established, measured with light, like they measure it with the equinox or whatever, solstice or whatever. So you can actually make this map without anything just made up. It's all just like actual real measurements. Just don't draw regular lines, draw great circles around the whole planet. And then once you draw all those in, that's when you'll come to the point where, like, if you start looking at Australia, that's where I'm starting to think this is gravity. Just because it's actually, like, formating the shape of the planet at some points. And if you look how it maps with, like, India and all these other places. And I know some of the viewers wanted to see the cube, so we'll just do the cube quick. Have you had any luck getting your video loaded yet, or no? Or you want
the video's loaded, but I guess you can't see it. You can't see anything right now. What do you see?
If you want to pause, if you just pause the video, I'll come back to it in 1 sec. Some people wanted to see the cube over, what is it, Mecca.
Oh yeah, I have a line going there. That actually, if you look at the Shanksville memorial site, where the plane allegedly crashed in Pennsylvania on 9/11.
Where they didn't
So
find the wreckage and all that, but they thought it crashed, or they said it crashed.
Yeah, they said that it buried itself under the ground. But anyway, what they did is they made this crescent around it.
Okay.
And in the fall, they have a bunch of trees there that turn red, and so it's a red crescent. And if you go from the center of that circle of the crescent, and you bisect the crescent, it takes you to Mecca.
Wow. That's wild. Because, the modern ley line path doesn't really go to Mecca anymore, but I think it must have in the past. So, I'll just show the quick cube. I know on the real map it's hard to tell, but if I compare it like right next to a cube, and you can see it almost matches the world tree symbology. And these cube patterns will obviously show up on different parts of the planet, but you can see how the blue lines really start to crisscross of what South America is shaped like. And then the most obvious gravity well of them all is the Gulf of Mexico, because it's like a giant hole right around it. And it turns out the one in Africa that's over on this port, it just so happens to be the biggest crater in the world that scientists are trying to figure out what created it. They thought it was a meteor impact before, but they're like, no, it can't be a meteor. So they're still trying to figure out why that's there.
Huh.
So, there's a lot of things that these ley lines, people make fun of them sometimes going, oh, what use is a ley line? How will it ever affect our lives? Well, I'm starting to think like, hey, man, there's a lot more to how these ley lines that are affecting our lives than anyone has realized yet.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we do got the window on the screen now, and it looks like it's doing that layered thing again, yeah?
Let me give it a few seconds. You still can't see? You can't see my video?
I see the layers of windows still, like the tunneling. Maybe once you hit play, it might start up. I don't know. Because it seemed like before it just sort of kicked in, right?
Did it really? I could try it.
Yeah, try hitting play, see if it kicks in. We can hear it, but no, it didn't kick in the video.
No, you can't see it though.
Okay. Maybe what we could do next time is have you back on and then have your videos already queued in a file so I can just hit play on OBS.
Sure.
Because I'm dying to see it too now. The suspense.
Yeah, so that was some of the recent murders that they had just this year.
Well, maybe it's good that if YouTube is going to flag it. Let's hope not. No, that's the one thing that people are like, oh, don't talk about sacrifice. We've had like sacrifice religions on the show in the past, and people didn't want to discuss it. Oh, there it is, Operation
You
Terror.
got it? Okay.
Yeah, all right.
You see some little girl getting a shot there?
Yeah, so I'll quit talking and I'll give you the floor for it.
All right.
Tuesday's mass shooting. We just met my goal of administering 100 million shots before my first 100 days.
Maybe volume up if you can.
That are currently in use. The national headquarters for the
Yeah, that's better.
is surrounded by the Emerald campus. This is the same CDC that has a zombie apocalypse. The line is drawn from this point in the center of Emory at the end of Peaky Drive all the way toward Dick on the California coast to process many interesting sites. The first stop is King Soopers, where 10 people were killed on 3/22. 3/22 is on the Skull and Bones logo. Their logo is also the symbol for poison. This point is 1,232 miles from Emory University. 16 miles down the line is this island that was built in 2003. It is shaped like a cross, like Jeffrey Epstein's island. Another 16 miles is the Denver International Airport. The airport has girls and dead children and statues like Lucifer, the apocalyptic force that killed its creator and greets passengers as they enter the airport. and the 26-foot-tall Anubis, god of the dead, that was on display at the airport and also in Lincoln. Next is the University of Alabama in Huntsville, where they have done research on COVID-19. Then the line goes between the two massage parlors that were across the street from each other in Atlanta, where the massacres that the president was talking about occurred. Massage parlors are just 2.5 miles from the starting point at Emory University.
Yeah, I used to love South Park. Yeah, I haven't watched South Park in years. Yeah, that looks like a really good video, but man, South Park is one of those shows that they're allowed to talk about subjects that most people can't touch, so it's neat that they're starting to do it. All right, we did get a whole bunch of questions, I guess, from the viewers that I forgot to check on.
Sure.
Let's see. Someone mentioned 18 equals 666. Oh, the airport looks like a 3D image. It's a cross. Obelisk, corrupt, walk in the grass. Oh, Flower Pot Island. Oh, yeah, the Moosehead Brewery beside the CN Tower. That's got some railroad patterns. I should check into that. Or, yeah, Steam Whistle. That's the beer. Electronic weaponry. Oh, he's wondering if the Great Lakes will someday open because of the gravity well there. It's hard to say. I don't know. From the gravity well maps or ley line maps I look at, it seems like I don't know if I would argue that the planet's shape has been like very stable for a lot longer than planetary theory gives it credit for, because so many of those ley lines or gravity well lines are still crossing the continent edges perfectly. So maybe it will make a bigger one there.
Yeah. Oh, somebody asked, the place, the airport of the New World Order. Yeah, that definitely is Denver International Airport.
Yeah.
And they even have a plaque, a big granite plaque, and it says New World Airport or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was dedicated by the Freemasons in Denver. And then somebody was asking about the mention of liquid nitrogen.
Oh yeah, see that there.
So what they do with the little flying saucers that they have in the labs is that they cool it down with liquid nitrogen. So they get the you cool them down to a really cold point. And so one of the scientists, he took a flying saucer and he made it like a bowl shape, and he would pour the liquid nitrogen in there, so he would run out, and so he can just keep those flying saucers going round and round and round, for a very long time, because until he runs out of liquid nitrogen to cool the superconductor. And the superconductor that this is a really important thing too, is that the superconductor can be mercury. And on one of the ley lines, that Fernando discovered, the Sandy Hook ley line going from Stonehenge to Coquilco, which went over the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, which was laid out just like the buildings that were in Sandy Hook. But anyway, the underneath the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, they found liquid mercury. Now, liquid mercury is not found in nature. You have to produce that.
It was big in gold mining because they used to use it to pour gold into it, and then it would dissolve. So that was the only time I've ever seen mercury used for something. It was like gold mining, and anything else, it was really weird, right?
Well, of course, they use it in thermometers and such, but
modern times,
But they had to dig way down below, several layers, to get to that where that liquid mercury was at. So it was done, very prehistoric times is when they processed that liquid mercury. And like I say, it is a superconductor, so it could have been used, and Teotihuacan was an international airport, back in tens of thousands of years ago.
Okay. Like you were saying, it could be an ancient airport.
Yeah.
No, if
Mhm.
anyone's wondering about like how I talked about the connection, or you even played in your video there, how Anubis keeps coming into this.
Yeah.
There's a little slide that was actually from the museum in Ottawa, and they gave everyone a glimpse of First Nations history that really hadn't been showed before, and it ties into the Anubis part. So I'll see if I got that one here.
Well, that's really interesting. Stop the, let's see, stop bus pimp, or oh no, I'm sorry, short bus pimp. It's hard to read. But anyway,
Yeah.
he said that the Navy has developed a superconductor that runs on room temperature. That's really interesting.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be a breakthrough. Now, I've worked with liquid nitrogen before in my old cleaning job because it was the perfect for getting gum out of carpets, too. So it's actually not as unstable as people think. You could pour it onto gum on a carpet and then use it to shatter it out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right, so I'll show a quick view of what we got here. Oh, wait, yeah. So if anyone's wondering, like, a lot of the star patterns end up being like that North Star that spins, making that pattern that we probably shouldn't say too many times. But the First Nations people talked about the guy who was in the center of it as well. They called him the Winter Maker. And it just so happens that his arm is reaching out from, what is it, a dog constellation like Canis Minor or Canis Major. I always get the two mixed up. Oh, those two there. So if anyone's wondering why you see so many cultures that have the multiple arm symbols, it's about that guy in the sky who's spinning. And as you can see, there's a whole sacrifice ritual applied with his sort of like background. And it's weird too that like this sacrifice of the ox was really big in the Mithra culture within like Rome and stuff, the Roman guys. And that's what they were talking about, is the sacrifice to grab that ox in the sky. Just common theme in Egypt. And yeah, other cultures that didn't have ox usually used other horned beasts. And it's weird, Santeria, that's one of the ones we just showed on the show recently. They also have the same symbology still going in their religion, so it's pretty wild where that comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I should show too. I'll just go back to my version of Google for a sec. I forgot to show, like, I remember I was saying that the Freemasons are involved so much in the work up north. See if I can make that a bit easier to read. There we go. So I'll take out the blue lines because, man, the blue, you can tell when you're dealing with ley line patterns, if you do every line, it's just so complex, it's ridiculous. You can't even look at it. But if you start to like narrow it down to just certain ones. So the town that happens to be next to that Stonehenge, if you want to look at what it's called, and this was named this before the war, so they had no other reason to call it this. So they even called the name of the town next to it that. So if anyone can't read it, it's swastika. I shouldn't say it too many times, but
Wow. Next to Stonehenge.
yeah,
Huh.
next to our Stonehenge where the sacrifices were going on. So it's like that whole idea of like the stars in the sky being connected to Anubis and sacrifice and connected to that symbol that you found where the airport. It's like it's repeating. It's like this very idea seems to be in a lot of different locations. Looks like Mexico, the States. Yeah, and if people are wondering how these ley line patterns like connect on other parts of the world, like say if I wanted to switch it to China, see what parts of the world were connecting with it, you'll find that like Beijing lands right on it, Pyongyang arrives right on it. So you start to get a lot of the major cities are all landing right on it, Hong Kong. So I was like, is this just a coincidence? Like did Asian, like, well, I guess Freemasons or whatever were doing it as well? The only thing I could come up with is a lot of these lines also create rivers, and people are going to build the major cities next to the rivers. Or it's just geographically, they're creating areas that are going to tend to line up. So I don't really know if it is, like to say, a giant conspiracy behind it all, or it really is just like the gravity well line shapes the planet, and then we start getting cities that land right on it because that's just where it's ideal to build. So, oh yeah, sorry, I got the window there. Yeah, so if people wanted to see, if you're in watching these in different parts of the world and you think ley lines don't really apply to anywhere but North America, yeah, you can see Pyongyang,
Oh,
Beijing.
yeah. I have a ley line that goes almost right there, just across the bay from Korea, and it's the German wings at ley line, and it ended up at a ghost city in China.
Wow.
These ghost cities are these fabulous cities that they've built, and they have beautiful artwork and all these things, but there's no people living in them.
Wow.
And so my line ended up right at a little circle that they're gonna, getting ready to look like they're gonna build a monument right there.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
No, Europe, even like the old cities and that, you find a bunch that'll connect. Sofia, Copenhagen, Paris, London, different spots in Norway. And I noticed too, the whole theory for if you think that it could be related to gravity, you get a lot of bays that form where it branches out. So you get the Bay of Biscay, or however you say that one. I don't think I've ever heard anyone pronounce it. And the most wild one of all, I think I should share with the viewers quickly while we have a minute, is if you follow the old one, like the line that we were talking about before that goes through the Washington, there just so happens to be another location where it goes through, and it's in the ocean. So I decided to like look it up to see like, hey, what's at the bottom of the ocean here where the ley line from Washington, D.C. connects to. Let's see if we got it. Ancient. There it is. So the one that goes through happens to stop at this location. Well, I'll put on the full orb pattern so we can see it. And if anyone's never heard of what's at the bottom of the ocean here, I had never heard of what was there before. It just so happens that the Nazis did a massive expedition here with a ship called the Schwabenland, and they were going towards Antarctica. So the only information that we have is fishermen on the Beauvais Islands. They noticed that the Nazis were there and tried to figure out, like, they reported back that they were there. So what happened is the Nazis, despite going to Antarctica, and some people said they were trying to prove that that's Atlantis or whatever, it turned out that they named this spot Schwabenland. So that whole part of their expedition, and it actually says this is an island chain that's a circle that recently submerged. So I don't know if they mean hundreds of years or thousands of years recently submerged. And the weirdest part about it is it also happens to match the image. Well, let's see where, if I got it here, is a place that some people call Atlantis, but other places called it, where is it, Hyperborea. So if you take the image of Hyperborea and lay it over where the Schwabenland is, it happens to fit really well if the planet was just slightly smaller. You can see that would have been the tip of Africa. Antarctica's little corner there was that one. And this ridge here, like this circle gravity well point, used to fall under there. And it's even got like the ridges of the water going still lining up. So if anyone's wondering if ley lines can maybe one day solve Atlantis, I am not saying that is Atlantis. Could just be Hyperborea or whatever that ancient place was. But I think ley lines offer us clues to even solving mysteries from the past.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Wick News says that there's some native stories about people coming from star forts, that there's portals in there.
Wow.
So that's interesting. Because I could see that as far as UFO goes, I mean, we're all conditioned to believe that UFOs have to do with aliens from outer space and such.
Yeah.
But I don't see that. Because I understand about quantum locking. So the flying saucers have to be locked onto a magnetic ley line to be able to travel. Yeah. And I don't see them coming from outer space. I just see that it's technology from a previous civilization, I think, is what those are. Because because they've had, it's nothing modern, because they've had reports of flying saucers for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So,
that place up north where all the gold is, they got military bases there with the UFO reports, and it's on the ley line, and there's sacrifice, and there's a Stonehenge and a place next to it called Swastika.
Oh wow.
It's like so many of these patterns, like you can find it in the US, you can find it in the States. Maybe if other viewers are watching from other countries and they want to put in the chat after different sort of ley lines they found where they live as well, who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if there's more in China and stuff there too.
Yeah.
I know, and some people wonder, like, how did the Freemasons ever get a hold of this information? Same thing. That's one of the theories that maybe aliens really aren't like extraterrestrial beings. There could be like interdimensional ones. There's also the demonic possession ideas, but I really don't research into that too much because it's a really dark path to go down. So
No, yeah, but it's ancient information that's been passed down through generations. Through organizations like the Rosicrucians or the Freemasons or the Jesuits or whatever else that have control over that information.
And I think, too, one of the things that we can say that could connect all the different cultures doing this is we're all looking at the same stars in the sky. So if everyone's getting this information from the stars somehow, then it could spread globally without actually contacting each civilization to talk to about. Because it's so weird. Like, how does everyone have that weird Orion Man legend? That's the one that really gets me. Like, they even talk about the Aboriginals or First Nations people in Australia had it. So I was like, whoa. So, like, even there, too, it's like, where wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's been an interesting hour here. Is it an hour or we've been over?
Yeah, we went way over. We went almost, hour and 40. I had a feeling that was going to happen because, man, your material had me on edge the whole time. So time flew.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you coming on the show, and if everyone wants to check out your material, I put the links in the chat, but maybe you should read it out again just in case anyone's listening to the audio version only.
Oh yeah, just the Operation Terror YouTube channel is where my videos are at.
Yeah. Well, Operation Terror's got all your YouTube videos linked on it too. Okay. I thought that was just for the 9/11 movie, right?
Oh no, the Operation Terror YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
The OperationTerror.com is just for my movie, but
it's the same name for both channels. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, and if people wanted to get a hold of you for like emails and stuff, do you give out your email or just reach you through the website's the best way?
Yeah, it's just art@OperationTerror.com.
Okay, sick. Yeah, I hope you don't get flooded with people asking you for the KMZ files.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
All right, cool. So I think we covered up everything, and I appreciate it if everyone can like and share and sub for the videos, and make sure to check out his thing. And I guess I'll cover my affiliate links at the end, so I'll wrap it up with you. So I really appreciate you taking the time. I know I can tell like you're a really busy guy with all these things going on in politics and movie making and stuff, so I can't thank you enough for...
I'm not doing that anymore, so yeah.
Oh, you're taking a break from politics and stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm just running a business, that's all.
Okay, that's cool. No, it must have been wild to run against Schwarzenegger. I can't believe that. It's like I would have never guessed we'd have a guest on the show that was running against Schwarzenegger before. That's wild.
Yeah, and he was afraid of me too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had one debate set up. It was going to be in Sacramento. It was NPR was doing this debate, and so we were already invited. It was myself, the Democrat, and Arnold.
Yeah.
And then at the last minute, they came back and they said, "I'm sorry, we can't have Mr. Olivier." Back to my campaign manager, and he said, the Schwarzenegger camp said that he will not debate if Mr. Olivier is in the debate.
Holy cow. Yeah, that happens in our Canada politics too. There's some parties that just will not go into open debates with anyone. It's like they have to hide their whole plans. It's very weird.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, they followed everything that I did. We would put on our website where I'm going to be speaking or where I'm at, and half of my events were canceled, and the half that weren't, would tell my campaign manager. He said, "Yeah, we got a call last night from the Schwarzenegger campaign. They offered us a bribe, or they threatened us, or to cancel." And so they try to cancel every single one of my events that I had, and they succeeded in almost half of them.
Jeez, wow. No, it's a shame you didn't win. I know the Libertarian Party isn't very popular in Canada, but a lot of people have stuck to them for years and years and years. So let's hope maybe one day they get some success. The way government control is getting out of hand, it almost seems like we're pushing in that direction eventually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were growing leaps and bounds, back in 2000 when I ran for vice president, and if you just look at the charts, I mean, it was just starting to skyrocket.
Yeah.
And then we got infiltrated, and it just nosedived.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
So we covered so much wild stuff on the show. I think first thing I'm going to do after doing this is rewatch it again So yeah, thanks again for coming on, and yeah, hopefully we can do it again sometime in the future, and maybe share some updates on our research together. Because I think I learned a crap load from watching what you had to present today, and I think you probably didn't even cover everything yet, right?
Oh no, just scratch the surface.
All right, cool. All right, thanks again. Take care.
All right, thank you.
Bye for now. Wow, everyone. Can you believe that we just had a show on ley lines that was like that? It's like, man, never in my wildest dreams did I think we were going to cover that much material. That was really, like, I don't know. When I had the dream last night associated with Anubis, I was like, holy crap, man, is there going to be some weird sacrifice stuff today? And wow, it's like, whew, that was like the wildest show I think I've ever done. So I appreciate everyone for having the coming on to the channel and taking part in the chat. I'll try to make sure that this episode doesn't get taken down. Maybe what I'll do is remove all the monetization, because I really don't care much about monetization, especially comparing it to this amount of research material. So I'll try that. We'll take off monetization and see if we can make sure it doesn't get removed. So yeah, thanks everyone. And I guess, yeah, we'll just cover, let's go with the patrons list, because I really appreciate the patrons. You guys help the show keep going. So let's list that. All right, so thanks again, Suki, Dan, Jim, Ray, Travis, and everyone else at Patreon. I know, like, I don't really get a lot of hours at work anymore. My health hasn't been the greatest, and I'm helping look after my uncle. So everyone who's even just contributing a little bit to Patreon, you wouldn't believe how much it actually helps. It actually boosts my spirits more than everything, too. Because then I'm thinking, geez, people actually care that much. It keeps me going. All right, so let's go to the affiliate links. Now, these are some affiliate links that's not only to help me, but if anyone else has their own YouTube channels and they want to try some affiliate links to help boost revenue, they work great for referrals. So let's share them. All right, so we got Patreon. We already covered that. Society 6, it'll pay you to, or yeah, Society 6 is where you can get my merch. Finishing quick is my specialty. It comes on t-shirts and bed sheets, both popular with the ladies. Hideout TV, it'll pay you to watch videos. Swagbucks will pay you to shop. GameKit will pay you to try video games. And free Bitcoin is a wallet system for crypto. Just be careful that they do have casinos involved on these crypto wallets, so you have to be very careful to follow your regional laws. Stay clear if you have any gambling issues. And I just open the free loot boxes every day because I'm trying to build up a little bit of crypto and I don't have anything to deposit. So yeah, if you guys want to help with the free Bitcoin and BetFury, both of them are really cool wallet systems for crypto. Obviously, free Bitcoin just deals with Bitcoins, but BetFury has loot boxes for almost every currency you can imagine on crypto. Oh yeah, and for the whole lockdown specials, if you happen to be stuck inside for like a year or two, you can also check out the Virtual Mate Sex Machine. It's for adults and men only, but if ladies need a sex machine, they know who to call. Just kidding. But I'm not kidding, is we also have a $10 off coupon code for a purchase of 150 or more. And the coupon code for that is LYING-BSN. No, it's not lying BS. It's LYNBSN. No, it is really a real coupon code, and big shout out to the Virtual Mate guys and ladies who sent that for the show. It sounds funny, but you never know. Like, we could be going on lockdowns for more and more years, so you might want to get your hands on it while you still can. Pardon the pun. All right, so let's go back to the fire screen. Did we cover everything? Yeah, I believe we did. All right, so thanks again, everyone, for watching the show. If you happen to get any, let's see, ley line material in your vaporizer, it tastes like shit, give the show a dislike. But if it doesn't happen, you can give the show a like. Really appreciate it. Just make sure never buy the products from my other bad sponsor,
because it will ruin your life. Bye for now, everyone.
See you later, and I'll try to get some more different topics, mix it up. I know we just did a show on Santeria. We just did a show on ley lines. Surprisingly, they connected a lot. So we'll see what other shows we can do in the future that will seem unrelated, but might actually connect again. That's one of the things Da Vinci was always saying is, what is it? His saying was, yeah, you'd be surprised how all things connect, or something like that. So I'm a little bit flustered because we covered so much wild material. I think I'm almost shaking today. All right, so thanks again, everyone. Take care, and bye for now. See you later. Almost forgot to give a shout out to everyone in the chat. Thank Wicked News, Short Bus Pim, and everyone else in the Patreon. And oh yeah, and on Facebook. So I appreciate everyone there too. See you later. Bye for now. Yeah, thanks everyone. Great questions.